narcissism to self is like when you do everything for your own pleasure, even at the expense of others, you are being a narcissist to other people, putting yourself on top of other people. And this side is like you are being a narcissist to yourself. You are putting everyone else on top of you. Hello. Welcome back to Bri Speaks podcast. I am your host, Bri Speaks, and if you're new here, I am a intersectionality expert who created the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. The 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control are patriarchy, capitalism, corporatism, racism, ableism, and religion. All 6 structures that have been created to control all of our minds and ensure that we do exactly what the people upstairs want us to do, even if it is not in our own best interest, even if it doesn't make us happy, even if et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all for control in order for them to control our minds, our bodies, our spirits, our monies, everything. So, and there are more than just the 6, but these are the 6 that I like to focus on. And so today I have created for you all, you're welcome in advance, another, what do I want to call it? Another educational tool, as though it is what I'll call it, an educational tool and visual to show people what narcissism, like, I wanted to boil it down to its simplest parts, because I've talked to a lot of people and they often say, oh, everyone's narcissistic, which, according to this, we'll see. That could be true, but they say everyone's narcissistic. They say narcissism is just about caring about your looks, which is like, no. Although a big fundamental part of it is that how am I being perceived externally? Like they say that D. Trump is the master of television or something like that. All narcissists are very good at controlling the narrative, controlling the external perspective, controlling how they are perceived by large groups of people. That's how all narcissists are able, not all narcissists, but like when a narcissist inevitably almost builds a cult, they do that because they keep all of the awful stuff that they do behind closed doors, and then they project this perfect strong man or strong woman or beautiful woman or whatever the image is that the narcissist wants to project. They are very good at projecting that external image and then using that goodwill that their external image has built in order to gain power, which enables them to keep doing awful things in the background. And so there are lots of layers to it, but I was able to use my brain to boil it down to, I feel like, really one concept that has 3 parts. And so I'm here. I'll just show it to you. And then after we go over this concept, I want to go into the kinds of narcissistic relationships they are. Once you know what a narcissistic relationship is inherently, you'll be able to better understand how you can spot them in society and not only as a person, but again, as systems. You can have narcissistic systems. That's what I talk about with my 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. They are systems. They are narcissistic systems that have been created to take and control, which is the point of a narcissist. Okay, so let me share my screen. So this is my spectrum of narcissism that I have created. And here, let me explain it to you. So I see all narcissists as one side of the spectrum, and then the opposite of a narcissist, which is really a narcissist to yourself, on the other side, and then the ideal is in the middle. Your narcissist to everyone else looks like this. This person has the mentality, this person or system or like company or like this entity has this mentality is I do everything for my own pleasure. And you can also replace pleasure with like my own gain, my own benefit, my own joy, my own whatever positive attribute. I do everything for my own pleasure, whatever makes me happy, whatever I want. And then at the bottom, you'll see it says, even if that comes at the expense of others. That is where narcissism lies. The narcissist or narcissistic system will do anything that they want, even if what they want causes others to be in pain, causes others hurt, causes others harms, causes others inconveniences. Not even just like, but like it's really deeper than inconvenience. Because if you like causing someone to be an inconvenience is one thing, but narcissists, they will do what they want. If that is what they want, if that gives them pleasure, even if it harms others. And so this can be, okay, I feel like an easy one is it is a man, right? And I do think, again, as patriarchy is one of my 6 narcissistic hierarchies, I think men often fall on this side of the spectrum because if you are raised in one of these we're all raised in the social, the 6 narcissistic social hierarchies of control. We're all raised inside of them. But if you are the ideal person, so if you are a man raised in the patriarchy, right? But you are the ideal man, you are going to be more narcissistic. And like I'm telling you, there is the possibility that you're not, the small possibility, but if you are labeled as the ideal according to the narcissistic system, you will be narcissistic. And you won't know it because the system tells you, the person who they're controlling, that you've done everything you were supposed to do. You did everything right. And that is why you have these benefits. It doesn't tell you that we are benefiting men because we are men who made this system and we want men to be in control. And so we reward men and create all these biases and create all this media, and we do all this stuff to ensure that men are perceived positively, right? That external perception. We do all this stuff to ensure men keep control and keep power, because as long as men keep control and keep power, we, the men who actually create the system and control the system, we keep our benefits and our power because we are men. And so if you are a person at the top of these hierarchies and you are raised in these systems, you won't know that everything that you've gotten is because of the hurt and harm or oppression of other people. You will think that is because your hard work. And often your hard work is relative to the work you've done in your life. And so while you think your work is hard work, obviously the people who are lower, right, ranking, heavy air quotes, on these hierarchies will have to do 10 times as much work to get the same positive perception, to get the same social benefits as the person who was just born into the hierarchy, being the ideal that the hierarchy wanted you to be. And so your work will have been technically hard in your opinion, but it will not be as hard as the work that others had to do to get the same social standing. And because others had to do more work to get the same social standing, those people will have higher resilience, they will have more confidence, they will have more intelligence, honestly, because if you have to solve more problems throughout your life, that knowledge, those problems that you solve give you knowledge. They give you intellect, they give you problem solving skills, they give you adaptability, they give you all these, like, overcoming things gives you so much positive, even just like something as simple as like working out. If you want to take it away from all the systems, right? When you think of going to the gym, when you do a set, it was hard, but when you get past that hard part, then you get stronger, right? And then you come back to the gym and you do the same thing, and it's not going to be as hard because you've done it before, you overcame it, you grew stronger, your body adapted, and now you can do the same thing with ease. And so when people like a queer person or a woman who is like a non-traditional woman, doesn't have, a husband and a kid or what have you, come into a job and they do the same thing that the man who was supposed to be doing it, they do the same job and they end up doing better, the narcissistic hierarchy will tell everyone that, one, that person like didn't deserve it, or tell them like, don't believe what your eyes see. That person is doing well, but like it's still not as good as the chosen one, the person who the hierarchy has said is the ideal. So men are going to be more narcissistic for that. They're going to be more entitled because they're going to, again, when you get stuff without working for it, it creates entitlement. That's like same thing, cough, cough, white people. White people feel so very entitled to everything that they have because they didn't actually have to work for it. And so they just feel like they're supposed to have it without the work because they've always had things without the work. So they that sense of entitlement. The narcissist is the most entitled person that you're ever going to meet. They feel like men, this whole male loneliness epidemic that's happening right now is a manifestation of men feeling entitled to women because they've always gotten women as long as the patriarchy has been alive, without having to do the work for them. They've had to do some sort of like mediocre work, some menial work. They've had to essentially like connect with their buddies. If they were some rich white man, just, hey, rich white man buddy, can you help my son? And then that son has a nice nice job. And since the law says that a woman cannot have money, cannot have a bank account, cannot have a job, now that man is entitled to get a woman. Like, they will get a woman if they have a good job, because women have no capabilities of caring for themselves because of the law that the patriarchy has created. And so all they had to do was be born to a dad who has a friend who has a place that I have a job, and now I have a wonderful paying job and I get a woman. And so all of, like, you didn't work for the job, you didn't work for the woman, and now you have both of them. You are entitled. You will then go on the rest of your life feeling like, I've done some like this, I've got all these rewards, that means I must have done work, that means I must deserve it, that means I deserve it, and if I deserve it, that means I'm entitled to it, it's mine, I should have it. Because your perspective is completely warped based on what people, the systems, have given to you. White people, I'm talking to y'all too. You got all this stuff. Oh yeah, everyone goes to college. Everyone has a 2-parent household. Everyone has a house in suburbia. Everyone, like this is the norm. This is the norm for y'all, because the system has created all sorts of barriers for Black people to not have those things in order for you all to keep having those things. White people don't do well in corporate America, for instance, because corporate America, the ideal is essentially a cis white hetero male in a position of power. And so if you don't play the game as a Black person, where you are butt kissing, essentially bootlicking all throughout corporate America, the people who are in power, because corporate America is nothing but a political theater. It is all games. It is all games. Like, I worked in corporate America for about 10 years. And in that 10 years, all I learned was that if you keep your mouth closed, do your job moderately well, and bootleg whomever is on top of you, you will get promoted. Just be quiet, do what you're told, and compliment the higher ups. You will be favored, and make sure you look nice while you're doing it, because I'm a woman. I had to make sure I look nice. But I was Black, and so of course I couldn't do too well because then I'd be stepping on the toes of the white women. And so I had to learn how to play this game of always pandering to all the white people around me, because if I didn't, I wasn't in my place as a Black person. Black people are not allowed to be proud. They're not allowed to have all this confidence in a space full of white people. Anyways, but white people are expected to have that. Except, white women, you got to be you're only second on the hierarchy, so you have to know your place. But the white woman, her place is higher than the Black woman, and so they ensure that they keep the hierarchy in place by always being the authority figure over Black people whenever they have the opportunity. And that is the birth of the Karen, is the entitlement to feeling like you are an authority figure over people of color, because you are a white person in this narcissistic social hierarchy. So you feel like you have the authority over people of color, and you know that, and that is why the Karens exist. Like, we have an entire phenomenon called a Karen, because white women are trying to exert authority over minorities. All right. Okay. So all of these systems, when you look at them, they are a representation of, let's say, like the men doing whatever they want for their own pleasure, even at the expense of others. That can look like rape. They want to have this woman in this way, even if that comes at the expense of her well-being, her physical body, her mental, all of that. They will have her. It's not funny, but it's just like, that is narcissism. That is a narcissistic point of view, is me over everyone else, me before everyone else, me like in spite of everyone else on anyways. But yeah, so that is this side of the spectrum. And then, so I want to go, before we get to the middle, I want to go to the other side, because this is where a lot of women live, including myself. And I've been working, and I am still working my way out of this. But a lot of women, I do everything for others' pleasure, even at the expense of myself. And so this is the moms. These are the moms who are cooking every day, even if they don't feel like it. And when you do something like, when I heard this phrase, I do everything for my own pleasure, which I will say, shout out to Dave Chappelle, which, he's got his own controversies. And as I listen to him now as an awakened woman, he's extremely misogynistic, so misogynistic. I'm just like, could you pick another word other than bitch to refer to literally any woman ever? Like, no, not at all. Like, part of me feels like, sorry, small tangent, but part of me feels like Dave Chappelle, I do feel like he is misogynistic, but I feel like a part of him doesn't want to be as misogynistic as he is. But he has this appearance to put up this, like, I'm this OG Black man, and so I have to be misogynistic. But because he is an OG Black man, I'm like, he just actually might be as misogynistic as he presents himself. But I don't know. I don't know. Something inside of me is just like, I feel like he doesn't believe in women as an inferior being. I think he just talks like he does because it's expected of him. And, someone can call me out on that. Maybe I'm being a misogynistic sympathizer because misogyny shouldn't be it shouldn't be accepted anywhere or at all, but no, period. It shouldn't be accepted, and I don't accept it. I don't accept it. I'm just saying from my empathy spidey senses, they are saying that he's not really as misogynistic as he alludes to be, but I'm just like, but he has no other way to present his content in a funny way. He does, but he's not comfortable doing so. And that is he has to work that out on his own. I'm projecting a whole lot of thoughts onto him, but those are just my thoughts. Anyways, I enjoy his comedy except for his misogynistic take on a lot of things. And so, but he was the one who at the end of his recent Netflix special said that he had a friend who was like passing away on his deathbed. And the friend said, I did everything for my own pleasure, is what the friend said. I did everything for my own pleasure. And I remember being so like, shocked, and like I was like, wow, that was so profound. I was like, he said he did everything in his life for his own pleasure. Like he didn't do nothing. If he didn't want to do it, he didn't do it. He didn't like doing it, he didn't do it. And I was just like, wow, like I just like, it blew my mind but then right, it blew my mind. But then as a woman in this space, like deconstructing all of these narcissistic systems, the first thing that came to mind right after was like, that's because I'm a woman. Because I'm a woman, I am so shocked that someone could have done everything in their life for their own pleasure, because my immediately thoughts were like, but what about the kids? What about, the husband? What about, the community? Like you're doing everything and this person did everything in their life. This man did everything in his life for his own pleasure. Hopefully it wasn't at the expense of others. But as a man, I'm like, part of me is like, I'm sure at some point his pleasure came at the expense of a woman. But that ends up being that so many women end up over here as they do everything for other people's pleasures. They cook dinner not because they're hungry, not because they feel like eating, but because a husband and kid are hungry and husband and kid need to eat. That wasn't for her pleasure. She did that for someone else's pleasure. The woman, hey, you got the husband in the bed who's like, hey, sweet thing. And she's like, oh, just finished cooking dinner, just finished putting the kids down. I'm tired. I don't want to. But she's like, whatever, just do it, get it over with, and then let me go to sleep. And that is, first of all, that is coercion. If the man keeps asking, even after she says no, let's just start there. But after she is coerced, she gave in because she cared more about his pleasure, his comfort than her own. So this side says, I do everything for others' pleasure, even if it comes at the expense of myself. And this is what women do all the time, every day. And I'm just like, I am personally sick of it. I am personally sick of women like just doing things, just begrudgingly doing things and putting up with it. It's just like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. And I'm just like, it is a profound thing for a woman to be like, I don't want to do it, so I'm not doing it. And that's why women are not having kids. That's why women are not getting married. It's like, because we have been expected for so long in the patriarchy to live in this, I do everything for others' pleasures, even if that comes at the expense of myself. We've been here for so long that now that we are doing things for our own pleasure, it's a problem. Now there's a male loneliness epidemic. Now we need to get women off the workforce. Now we need to, take away women's bodily autonomy. We have to take away all of these rights that women have. You can't really take away a person's rights. You can, on paper, say you can't do this, but paper ain't stop nobody from doing nothing ever. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, but that's because we're moving away from this. And I would call this side like narcissism to self. It's like when you do everything for your own pleasure, even at the expense of others, you are being a narcissist to other people, putting yourself on top of other people. And this side is like, you are being a narcissist to yourself. You are putting everyone else on top of you. It is still the same concept of people having value. Like, again, it should be everyone's pleasure, everyone's happiness, everyone's value as a human, inherent value as a human is equal. Everyone's inherent value as a human is equal, no matter what you look like, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your race is, no matter what your religion is. Like, if you were born as a human being on this planet, and really as a soul on this planet, because animals are souls too, and the way that we treat animals is crazy. But hey, I know a lot of people aren't ready for that conversation, so I'm gonna just leave that there. But if you are born as a human soul on this planet, you have the same value and importance as any other human soul born onto this planet, no matter where on the planet you were born, no matter what time you were born, no matter who you were born to. Like, it just, none of that matters. You are a human soul born on this planet. You have the same value. And thus, that means your wants, your needs, your ideas, your thoughts, they are all equally as important and value as everyone else's. Now, when you put context around it, because I don't want to say everyone's thoughts are, as important, because some people, again, people who have narcissistic thoughts, like thoughts where the thought is my value, my thoughts, my joy. When the thought is a narcissistic thought, is my thought is more important than yours, or is more valuable than yours, or it's like, and again, these are thoughts, not facts. Your facts are not more important than my facts, because if your facts are not facts, then they are your opinion. And if they are your opinion, then your opinion is, it's like an a-hole. Everyone's got one. So, anywho's, what was I saying before I tangented? Sorry about that. So women live over here. And so I was saying they are narcissists to themselves because they put themselves at a lower value than other people. They put themselves below other people. Like, it is like you're giving into the narcissistic system by saying that you are not as important or not as worthy or not as, like, it's important as this other person, that you are putting yourself beneath. Like, you are being narcissistic when you put yourself above someone, but you're also being narcissistic when you put yourself below someone. Like that is still hierarchy. My problem is hierarchy. My problem is putting values on humans, putting humans as more important or than another human. And so you are being a narcissist to yourself, which is crazy, y'all. That's crazy. Women do this all the time. We've been narcissisming ourselves. And so that brings me to the middle ground, which is where everyone needs to be and move towards, which is I do everything for my own pleasure, but not at the expense of others. This is the green zone. You should be able to do anything on this planet that you want to do, but as long as it does not come at the expense of others. Like, you can have a business, but if your business is dependent on exploiting people or stealing from people or extracting resources from a place that can't afford to do it, if your business model is taking advantage of people, it is a narcissistic business model and it shouldn't exist. If you enjoy, if you have like a KIN, right, and you want to do something that involves, I don't know, subjugating someone else, you have to go find someone who will consent to you doing that. And so you're not doing it at their expense. You are doing it really if they enjoy that role. Hey, we don't shame over here. You do what you want in your rooms, in your bedrooms. Then your pleasure is directly contributing to their pleasure at that point. But the moment you say, I am going to do something that I want to do, even if it hurts other people, you're a narcissist. And if you say, I want to do this thing, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I want to say how I feel. I want to express how I feel. I want to go where I want to go. I want to do what I want to do, but I cannot because it will hurt someone's feelings. Like, it'll make someone else uncomfortable. Like, again, so when I want to hammer down on this word expense here, because again, I'm coming from the perspective of a mama. And so if I want to, like, not make dinner because I don't want to, that is doing something for my own pleasure. But will that come at the expense of others? Will my child eat? Because I'm just like, will they eat today? Is there anything else you can make that is less cumbersome on you, that brings you closer to you having pleasure? That is not, all that to say, it's not, you have to use this tool intelligently. And I know there's not a lot of intelligence left on the planet. So it's a tall order. But if you feel like if you feel like you can use this, because I use this like to make, I've started using this to make decisions in my life, and it is, I'm not gonna lie, it's caused me to make some really big changes. Some really big changes in my life that I will share eventually, but it works. It works. It works. It works. So and as a woman, like when I started thinking about this, it's just like, why am I doing this thing that I don't like doing? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting up with this? Why all these things? And at the end of the day, I was doing all these things for other people's pleasures. I was doing so much stuff in my life for other people's pleasure that I didn't have to do. Like, that's the thing. It's like these narcissistic systems, they get into your brain, they get into your mind, they get into your psyche, and they make you feel like you have to do these things when you don't have to. You are doing it because you feel this societal, this social pressure, bringing this back to, like, like, I haven't picked on religion in a little while, to go to church. You feel this societal pressure to go to church, even though you don't like going to church. You feel this, like, every Sunday you get, like, you work from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Saturday you try to do your grocery shopping, or like you have a night out with friends or something, and then Sunday you gotta get up and go to church. And it's just like, why? Because the church told you to. That's a social pressure, because people around you are telling you to, even though you in your heart don't want to, but everyone else is telling you you should, or you have to, or you're supposed to. That is a narcissistic social pressure that is not for your benefit. It is for the benefit of those who benefit from you coming. That is all I'm saying. Like, when you don't want it, when you have to get up to force yourself to do something, ask yourself, why am I forcing myself to do this thing? Do I really want this? Do I really want to do this thing? Is it for my own benefit? Is it for my own pleasure? Or is it for the benefit and pleasure of others? And I'm doing it at the expense of myself. Am I doing this for myself or at the expense of myself? Ask that question. And you'll find so many things, y'all. Y'all gonna find so many things in your life that you are doing for someone else's pleasure. And I'm just like, all right, so that is that. So now that we know what a narcissistic, like, relationship looks like, it looks like anything that is someone snatching up resources, time, energy out of you, a person, a thing, an entity, a society, anything for its own benefit, gain, pleasure. What does that look like? So what does that look like in a more real life scenario? So, because I look at people who deal with narcissism and narcissistic systems all the time, and they don't see the narcissism. And so I am here to point out patterns so that everyone can see what I see. So now that the dynamic of the relationship is established, you can have so then there are different ratios of narcissistic relationships. And the lower the ratio, the more concentrated, I would say, the toxicity of the relationship is to the victim or victims. And then the higher the ratio, the less toxic it is. Like, the person can more easily function and live their lives, but they are still being taken advantage of in some sort of way by the narcissist or narcissistic system. And so if you look at a one-on-one narcissistic relationship, you have a narcissist and they have one victim. That usually looks like a husband and a wife, or a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or a parent and a child. It's like someone has placed themselves, either society, right, if it's a man and a wife, or that person, because this can be happening between friends, like any one-on-one relationship where it's like there's a narcissist in the relationship and they are taking advantage of that person by exploiting them in some way. By the dynamic of the relationship is the narcissist is taking more than the person is receiving, or like taking more than they're giving. Like, any relationship should be an even balance of give and take. It should be like it's never going to be perfect, even it's never going to be perfectly even, as in, I do the dishes one day, you do the dishes one day, I clean the toilet, you clean the toilet. It's going to be like, if I'm better at cleaning, if I'm more suited at cleaning, I'll do the cleaning, and then if you're more suited at cooking, you'll do the cooking, and then, occasionally we'll switch off whenever the person's getting tired, so that, we can make sure our skills stay sharp. But overall, it's like, I always think of yin and yang. It's okay. When you look at a yin and yang, most of this side is black and most of this side is white. So it's like, most of the time the woman will, like, do the dishes, and occasionally she'll clean. And then most of the time, let's say the husband will do the dishes, and then occasionally he'll cook. So that's what, like, balance looks like. That's what sustainability looks like. That's like, this is what a non-narcissistic relationship looks like. It's like all parties in the relationship have I don't want to call it a role, because a role is that's narcissism. But they have an inclination or an inherent talent, or like something that the person is good at and that they will naturally gravitate towards. And then someone else will have something else in the system will have something that they naturally gravitate towards, and then you'll come together and you make this really strong whole entity. But it is never it is never supposed to be like, these are the parts These are the parts. And like, so while when they work together, it'll look like this, a whole yin and yang. But when you take them apart and stack order, rank order them, or, and actually a better version would be like all of the white parts at the top, right? And then the black parts are at the bottom. Aha. Like this. And so then, and that is hierarchy, you guys. This is went from a beautiful, sustainable, balanced entity working together, always in motion to get done what needs to get done, to, oh no, this is worth less and this is worth less because it's the black parts, and then this is worth more and this is worth more because it's the white parts. And now this part has all the power and control over these parts down here, and these parts down here have to listen to what this part says. Doesn't that sound stupid? Okay. So you can have a one-on-one narcissistic relationship where it's one person with one victim, but then you can also have, and then that one person has like basically all the control over that victim's life, and that victim can't do anything without that narcissist knowing. But you can unconcentrate it and have like something like, I was like a 1-to-3 ratio, right? I mean, I'll see this a lot. I unfortunately see this a lot, and I don't want to call them polyamorous relationships because I don't think these are polyamorous relationships. I feel like these are like pimps. Because you can have a woman who enjoys like being in a polyamorous relationship. But when it's just, y'all, I'm struggling with this because you know what? And I'm going to do an episode on monogamy versus polyamory because ooh, anytime the US government is involved and they want us to do something, then that means it's wrong. And the fact that they want us all to be in these monogamous one-to-one relationships with a man, only a man, and only a wife, and it has to be heterosexual, like that's wrong, and I'll do a whole episode on that. But so I was saying like a less concentrated narcissistic relationship can be the 1-to-3 ratio, which is usually like one man, and then he'll have 2 or 3 women or girlfriend or wives. A lot of Mormons, which again, Mormon is a narcissistic religion. So it's but hey, so yeah, you'll see like a man with like multiple partners, and again, polyamory is not a narcissistic in and of itself, but whenever a narcissist, which again usually a male narcissist, takes advantage of the youth, the naivete or naivety, like when women are naive and they don't know what's happening, and you have these men groom them and train them and love bomb them, all this stuff. And these women end up in this relationship with this one man. It'll be several of the women. So it won't be a victim that is like, most narcissists like to actually cycle through who their number one victim is. But for the most part, even with them cycling through, they will have one target at a time. And so you will not be subject to all of the harm and toxicity that you would be if it was just you getting the abuse by yourself versus, you spread out the abuse amongst the 2 other people. So, and then you can have like a bigger ratio, so like a 1-to-5 ratio. That's often, you would see that in families. So if you have like a narcissistic father or a narcissistic mother, because I've seen it, I've experienced it actually, if I will be honest, with the head of the household being a narcissistic woman, and then everyone else has to fall in line. So you'll see the 1-to-5 ratio, or however many people are in that family. You'll see that a lot as a family dynamic, as a narcissistic relationship. You'll see the 1-to-20 ratio, right? And that'll be like, that's when you're getting into your cults. Your cults start to be around 20 to 50 to sometimes 100, or really like cults can be as big as they want to be, but like you start labeling them as a cult at this 1-to-20 ratio, or like MAGA is a cult, and that's the narcissistic relationship where Trump is getting all of the benefits of the hurt and harm that are coming to the people in the MAGA community. Like those people are losing their benefits, losing like access to money, losing jobs, not getting any more opportunities. But their faith in this man, this cult leader, this trumpet, he is taking advantage of that and using it for his own gain, using it for his own projection of power, his own projection of goodness, even though we all know he's evil. So you can keep going, right? And then have like a 1-to-100 ratio, right? And that's like, and then you get into your corporate Americas. Your businesses are 100 to 200,000 people, where these small amount of people, so you might not want to call this like I want to say you don't want to call it 1 to 100 because it's not a singular person, but the system is the narcissist in this case. So when you have a business, it may not be one person that is a narcissist, but the system is narcissistic. And so you'll have, board members, your shareholders, your CEO, CSO, your CO, like your C-suite of employees, your upper echelon of employees. They will still be gaining all of the benefits, all of the positive attributes, all of the pleasure, all of the joy, all of the happiness that comes from that system, from the narcissistic system, while everyone else suffers. And that is a narcissistic relationship. So that's like your business, like a 1 to 100. But you can keep going, y'all, because once you, like I said, I'm a pattern recognitionist. Once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. Let's say like a 1 to, like, you can go, I would say 1 to, let's say, a couple of million, right? And then you have like the governor, I think the governor of Texas is a great example, or Donald Trump is a good example here too, because like he's got at least a couple of million cult followers. But that again, or like I was going to say DeSantis in Florida. It's like you can govern over a people in a narcissistic way, and so you create this narcissistic relationship, this narcissistic dynamic, even though some of the people in Florida, let's say, don't consent to being governed that way. You have Democrats in Florida, but the fact that they are in this captive place under this government by a narcissistic person, they are still subject to narcissistic abuse that comes from being in a system or in a place where a narcissistic leader is the head. So there really should be no head, because once you create a head, there will be a narcissist that comes to take that head. But that's another video. And then you can have like 1 to 300 million, which is what the United States government is. The United States is this narcissistic system. There's the entire United States, the capitalism that it runs on, the economy that it runs on, the businesses that it runs on, the politicians that it runs on, the political process that it runs on, like the everything, every system in the United States is a narcissistic system. Even the nonprofits, like all of it, every single drop. And I can't emphasize that enough, because the foundation of America was built on narcissism. It was built on hierarchy. It was built on the subjugation or an oppression of a people for the benefit and gain of a small amount of people, of a certain group of people. Like that, the foundation of the country was built on a narcissistic structure. And so everything that has been built since then has been built narcissistically. Like it has been built with hierarchy in mind. It has been built with extraction in mind. It has been built with the benefits of a few, despite the hurt and harm and the expense of others. That is like every business, everything in this country has been built in a narcissistic way to benefit a few while hurting and harming, to benefit a few at the expense of others. That is America. That's America. So you can have a country, like an entire country, that has a 1 to 300 million ratio. So all of us who are in America, we like the toxicity is not as concentrated as if we were in a 1-to-1 narcissistic relationship, but we all feel it. We all feel this oppression. We all feel this loss of control. We all feel this exploitation. We all feel this unfairness. We all feel this this entity, this I don't know how to explain it, but like this force. We all feel this force pressing down on us here in America, while we see these people thriving, and these people who keep telling us, if we do this, will get better. If we wait, if we follow, if it'll get better, all while they are living the high life, all while they are getting what they want, when they want, however they want it, all while they don't feel any suffering at all, but we have to keep waiting. That is the lie of the narcissist. It's called future faking. One of the tools in the narcissist belt is to future fake, to tell you just wait, you just hold on, you just keep going. Heaven is in the sky while mine is here on earth. Don't worry about it. Suffering is fine. Suffering, the meek and the poor shall inherit the earth one day. You just keep waiting. And really, that's all of these systems have future faking. All of these tell men, if you get a job, if you do that and there, you'll get a wife and a child. They tell all people, if you work hard enough, you'll become a millionaire and eventually a billionaire if you're smart enough. They say, if you enter the corporate system, you can work your way up to CEO, you can be a shareholder. Like, Racism, they say, yeah, you're black, but if you just do what you're supposed to do for as long as you're supposed to do it, you'll never be white, but like you'll be treated as such. And so it'll be fine. And then religion, of course, they tell you, you can't do anything now, but in the future, you'll be in heaven, but, just, suffer right now while you're on earth. And same thing with ableism. And also put ageism here. Oh, you can't even see what I'm pointing out. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so all these narcissistic systems, they utilize future faking as one of their greatest tools. So like for the patriarchy, it tells men, if you do what you're supposed to do, if you get a job, you participate, and you be the big man, strong man, you will get a woman and a child, and that'll be your life. And now you got all these men who are upset because they did what they were supposed to do and they didn't get what they were promised. Because again, a narcissist will promise you things and they will tell you how you can get it, never with the intention of you actually getting it or doing it. And so one, they'll usually give you bad and poor and negative directions that will not get you to your goal. So, but if you are one of the lucky few, who actually do what they say and it actually works, and you still won't get what they tell you you're going to get. Like you're not going to. That's never been the case for any narcissist ever. Like Trumpet, he's got so many cases against him for lack of payment. The Diddler, all those guys went up there and said, "Oh, he never paid me." Epstein, all these things coming out, never paid me. Who else is a well-known narc in my mind? I don't know. If you look at any narcissist ever, they are never going to pay what they owe when the bill comes due. I'm telling you. Said corporate America, they tell you, oh, if you work your way up the ladder, you'll be a CEO one day, you'll be a shareholder one day, you can be on a board member one day. And it's just like, no, the only people who they give those promotions to are the people who fit the mold, who the people who were always going to get those jobs are the people who get those jobs. You think that corporate America CEOs are like 96% blonde-haired, 6'4" white men by accident? You just think that blonde-haired, 6-foot-something white men they just happen to be the smartest, most successful people in the world? No, they are the people that the patriarchy, that corporate America, that racism has picked ahead of time. And so whenever they show up, it's like, hey, yeah, you've done everything you need to do. You've got the job. They're making all these mediocre white men think that they have done something of magnitude, something of substance, something of reverence to deserve what they've got when they've done nothing but show up and be the mediocre white men that they are. And that's how we get a Trump. That's how we get an Epstein. That's how we get these mediocre, dumb, not smart, illogical, illiterate, unintelligent, unempathetic, unsocially socialized, just evil, awful people in power because the systems picked them out before they even showed up. So yeah, so this future faking, religion is the number one offender in my personal opinion. It's telling people, oh yeah, Earth is going to suck right now, and it's in fact, Earth is supposed to suck. The more it sucks, the closer to heaven you are, because the more it sucks, that means the revelations is coming. Fire is raining down from the sky, weather is going crazy, that means you're almost there. You're like, people are like, Christians, oh my God, the world is ending. Are you guys not afraid? Why are you still praying? It's just like, oh, because that's what God said was going to happen. Like the worse the world becomes, the happier Christians are because that just it proves that this is what was always going to happen to them, and not that this is an outcome of the decisions of society. This is an outcome of things that society have pushed and let fly, and like none of that is why the world sucks. Is because God said it would suck. So just prophecies being fulfilled. Yeah. And then able-bodied, neurotypical, ableism / ageism. I like to call that out because I've added ageism because people discriminate against children all the time, and it's just like, they're kids. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't ask to not be old enough to think smartly. They didn't ask to not, have a grown adult body immediately. Like, it's just like the world has been built to discriminate against children in the same way that it was built to discriminate against disabled people. It's like, if your body does not meet the adult form that I want it to meet, and your mind does not meet the thinking way that I want it to think, then you are a problem and you need to be ostracized from society. And they tell kids, essentially, don't worry. In the future, when you're an adult, things will get better. Hint, they don't. And then they tell disabled people, it's just like, oh, if you if you fight harder for your rights, you'll get more accommodations, or like, if you just keep waiting, the technology will get there. That'll be able to fix your disability. When it's like, you could just treat them with respect now. You could just, use the technology that we do have to make things easier for everyone. But no, no, you don't want that because you enjoy feeling superior. And so it will make you upset if a person who is disabled came, had the accommodations that they needed, and then did better than you when you don't have any accommodations or you don't need any accommodations, and they will outperform you. That they can't have that. And so they'll just keep telling disabled people, the future's coming, things will be better. Keep waiting. All right. So that is, I hope that makes sense to people. I wanted to show people like narcissism. It's a big concept and it has a lot of pieces, but it really boils down to people being like, I wouldn't even say being selfish, because you can be selfish and still be kind. You can be selfish and still care about other people. You can be selfish and still be empathetic. But narcissism takes it just the step. It is selfish and I don't care. Selfish and I don't feel what you feel. Selfish and I will do what I want even if it hurts you, because it's what I want. And that's where humanity goes to die. That is where, and that's where we are. It's like because I was talking to this white man. If you haven't seen that video, I'll tag it here or something. But I was debating. He said that white people should not feel guilty for the benefits that they have, like right now today, because they were not the people who implemented slavery, or they were not the people who did anything and didn't actively do anything to create hurt and harm. And so just because they are the beneficiaries of hurt and harm, that doesn't mean they should feel bad or feel guilty about it. And I was just like, that is narcissism. Like, that right there is white people arguing if they should feel guilty about reaping the benefits of the hurt and harms of others. That's narcissism. They will take the benefits and the pleasures of racism, even if that came at the expense of others. So you should feel guilty, white person, even if your benefits that you have now came at the expense of others in the past. Like, that should still hurt you in some way. That should still move you in some way. That should still make you feel like, man, I feel bad that those people had to suffer in order for me to have the benefits that I have right now today. Like, you should feel bad about people who were hurt in the past, even if you didn't actively do anything to hurt them, but you are benefiting. You should feel guilty about those benefits, because those benefits are blood money. Those benefits come off the backs of the suffering and slavery of a different people, even if that people is now, in the past, or in the future. If you should feel bad about doing anything that contributes to global warming, because it will hurt and harm the people of the future. But the fact that I have to sit here and explain and teach empathy to white people, it shows me that they have they have that inherent narcissism that comes from being the ideal in a narcissistic system. When you are the ideal in a narcissistic system, you will have narcissistic tendencies. You will be narcissistic, because you can't see, because you're here, you are gaining the benefits, so you cannot see the oppression and the hurt and the harm that your benefits have on other people, because the system is made for you not to see it. Literally the point of a narcissist and a narcissistic system is to gain benefits, joys, pleasures, positive things, while not having to see, look at, I don't want to say that, because the point of a narcissistic system, not a narcissist, a narcissistic system, is to create a plausible deniability between the beneficiary and the victim. It is to create space between the beneficiary and the victim. It is to create lack of accountability between the beneficiary and the victim. Like, that is the whole reason any of these narcissistic systems exist, is so that it is much harder to say this victim is being victimized by this person or entity. If you put a system in between all of that, it is much harder to track down where the problem came from. But it's not impossible. That's the thing. It is not impossible, but because we've created this justice system, quote unquote, which was created in a narcissistic way, like the fact that we have to, pay for lawyers, or pay for bail, anything you have to pay for means you will create a system where there are people who can afford to do things and people who cannot afford to do things, and the people who cannot afford to do things will inherently suffer more. And that system is a narcissistic system. The justice system is a narcissistic system. And so we expect the justice system, a narcissistic system, to help mitigate the harm of another narcissistic system that is capitalism, or another narcissism that is corporatism, or another narcissistic system that is patriarchy. It's like we're asking a narcissist to stop another narcissist, and then like the only thing that a narcissist will do will be things for their own pleasure. And so, does it help the justice system to get people to stop? The justice system thrives on bodies being in the justice system. So is it in the justice system's best interest to stop bodies from being put into the justice system? No, it is not. It does not. And so why would the justice system ever take down systems that perpetuate poverty, systems that perpetuate crimes, systems that perpetuate lack of education, all the things that we know we have every data point in the world that says that poverty creates crime, lack of education creates crime, lack of resources creates crime, lack of access to opportunity creates crime. We know that 110,000%. But then you'll still have politicians get up here and say, we need to crack down crime by getting more police. We need to crack down on crime by giving the military more money, more force. That is what all these systems want, more force. Like, if you don't do what I want you to do, more force. That is not how you fix problems, by forcing people to do stuff. The more you force people to do anything that they don't want to do, the more they're going to push back. The more they're going to react. They're going to push back. So we know the answers to the solutions to all the problems that we have here in America, but the problem is that all of these systems are, one, narcissistic, and two, governed by other narcissistic systems. It's like, that was like Elon Musk and Trump when they were working together, trying to get Elon helped Trump as long as it was in Elon's best interest. But the moment Trump helped Elon as long as it was in his best interest. But the moment Elon was no longer of use to the narcissist that is Trump, he got rid of Elon. And as soon as he was back to being useful, they're back friends again. Like, y'all are asking two white people to when you're asking white people to stand up against racism, it's like half of them don't believe racism even exists, and then the other half who do believe it exists feels like it's not okay. Half of them don't believe racism exists, and the other half that do believe like it exists in some way. Half of those believe that it exists in like a way that is not that bad, and then the remaining 25%, quarter, who's like, yeah, it exists and is that bad. Most of them don't have the guts to do anything about it. They don't have the guts to go into a room full of their white peers and say, y'all suck. This is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't even be talking about this. I was watching Breaking Bad with my husband the other day, and the amount of just like casual racism that is in that show, it is so bad. And Breaking Bad, it was one of the most biggest shows in America, and it was like this. There's one of the main characters is this cop who is so racist. He's just like he calls people of color all kinds of names is what all I'm gonna say. But repeatedly, he is painted as this smart, this intellectual character who solves all of these crimes. He's just painted as this good guy who's helping his wife with like her troubles. He takes down this like big drug lord cartel, and so he gets this big reward. And then the reward is actually like human teeth, like the teeth of the man that he unalived. He got his grill. Like, if you know what a grill is, like, people put gold and silver in their mouth. He got that as like the reward for taking him down. And I was just like, that is so disgusting. It's just like, it's such a white mentality, a narcissistic mentality, to take out the life of another human and then have a trophy for it. It's like trophy, big game hunting, trophy hunting. Because again, animals are souls too, and white people love to go hunting for trophy hunting just to put the head of another animal on their walls, or like just to be able to say, I am big and strong over animal, and I am the dominant. I am the dominant species, and so I will unalive you, not for food, not for clothing, just for fun. That is nasty. And so that was what this cop man did to this criminal. He was a criminal. He was an awful person. I will say that man was crazy. But in the same show, he's like the cop is smoking a cigar, an illegal Cuban cigar that he got because he was a cop, and he apprehended it and he kept some of it. And the question was like, is it that the law is like, someone who breaks the law, when are they a criminal and when are they not? Because you are breaking the law right now, but I guess you feel like you deserve it for taking out other criminals. it's like you are a criminal too. And it's like white people don't see when they do something, they don't see it as bad. And the same thing is like a CEO doesn't see them doing something that hurts a community or harms a community, or like something that their business does that is harmful, just notably impacting people in a harmful way. They will see that and say the benefit of me, of my pleasure, of my joy, of me getting benefits matters more, and I will do whatever is in my benefit, even if it comes at the expense of others. That is narcissistic. All right, I think that's all. I think I've got my point across. Look throughout your life, see what you're doing, see if you're doing women, if you need to check to see if you're doing things for other people's pleasure, even at the expense of yourself. And any men that are watching this, I would encourage you to look and see what you're doing for your own pleasure, but even if it comes at the expense of someone else. Like, you need to look at, what am I doing that could be hurting someone else, and I need to correct that pleasure, that pain. I need to correct that pain point, and then figure out and everyone needs to figure out, how can you move closer to the middle? How can you do everything in your life for your own pleasure, but not at the expense of others? Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it was useful. I hope you learned something. If you want more, you can always follow me on TikTok. Although I'm moving away from TikTok, you guys. I'm not going to lie. TikTok, it doesn't pay you any money. YouTube don't pay me as of right now anyway, but I do hope it will one day in the future. And based on what I understand, YouTube will pay more eventually. But yeah, so I don't know. Follow me on TikTok. I'll be posting stuff there, but I am trying to do more on just YouTube, and somewhat Spotify. But I might be moving away from Spotify too. It's a lot of work to upload my podcast on Spotify, and the reward is not very high. So I might just be a YouTube girly. Maybe do Patreon or something, because I do want to talk deep into some of these things, but I know the world's not ready. So maybe I'll do that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. TikTok, Bri Speaks, YouTube, Bri Speaks, and then Spotify, Bri Speaks podcast, for now. And if you would like to support, please do send me money on Cash App. I hate begging for money. I'm not that I'm begging. But this is a lot of work, and I'm not compensated for it, and I don't have a job. So if you all want to support your girl and her thoughts, and if it's helpful, please do send me money on Cash App at Bri Speaks 2. And then if you want to support, you can also buy my hoodie at free2adhd.com. I currently have a sale for all of my YouTube listeners. If you use the code podcast, you can have a hoodie for the very, very, very low price of $25, because it's worth more than that. The fabric is thick, it is soft, it is nice, it is cozy, and it represents neurodivergence. And I feel like one of the best kind of ways. So you can get that hoodie for $25 if you use the code podcast at free2adhd.com. And I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed. If you got to the end of this podcast, please do put an inverted triangle in the chat, because that is what we represent. We represent the feminine. We represent healing. We represent the collective over the small little people at the bottom who want to take over everything. So we're going to use symbolism to get out the feeling of the feminine and anti-hierarchical change. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.